as a bipolar process. Traditional system of education emphasized the acquisition of knowledge and facts. There was no freedom of the child. The immediate needs, interests, and self experiences of the child were not taken into account. The teacher was a strict disciplinarian and was like a skilled craftsman filling the empty minds of the child. The method relied too much on passive learning through drill, repetition, and memorization, often without understanding what was learned. Rousseau, through his brilliant and critical work, established the moment in making the child the center of educational and pedagogical theory. Gradually, the influences from psychology and sociology confirmed the idea that education means that process of development in which consists the passage of human beings from infancy to maturity, the process whereby a child gradually learns by dint of its self-activity and continuous reconstruction of experiences. Education is the development of all those capacities in the individual which will enable him to control his environment and fulfill his possibilities. Sir John Adams, in his Evolution of Educational Theory, points out education, one personality acts upon another in order to modify the development of the other. The process is not only a conscious but a deliberate one. The educator has the clearly realized intention of modifying the development of the educand. The mean by which the development of the educand is to be modified are twofold: the direct application of the educator's personality to the personality of the educand, and the use of knowledge in its various forms. So teaching involves not only imparting a mastery of knowledge of a limited amount, but sympathetic understanding of the place of knowledge in the growth of each pupil and of its value to society. For this kind of process, the teacher should also have to learn many things from the learner to adjust and accommodate his method and contents of teaching. He should know the child first, and in this way education becomes on the social growth. The three poles are the educand, educator, and the society. Through the interactivity about the development of the child as a social rest upon other factors agencies of the social community, so the teacher must take into consideration the influences of them in his work. Educational process, not only educator and the educand, the educand has to live in and for the society he belongs to. True education comes through the simultaneous endowments by the demands of the social situation in which he finds Dewey in Dewey's own words. All education proceeds by the participation of the individual in the social consciousness of the race. He believed that any system of education devoid of its social significance is incomplete. In a democratic society, every activity should develop out of the real need of the group. Education must cater to the individual as well as the social needs. Child's instincts, urges, impulses, and tendencies have to be directed towards the socially desirable channels. This is possible when the child participates in the social situation and there is interaction in the educator, the educand, and the social environment. Of education. Education has a multifarious scope in the life of an individual. It can be broadly classified as formal, non-formal, and informal education. Let us try to understand the characteristics of three forms of education. Formal education has some important characteristics. Education imparted by formal institutes like schools, colleges, and universities. Though the main centers of formal education are school or colleges, but library, museum, zoo, picture galleries, lecture, symposia, etc. serve as agencies of formal education. Definite curriculum and courses of studies are framed to teach the students and definite duration of years required to complete the courses. Proper time schedule prepared for day-to-day personalized teaching and semester or earlier planning of academic sessions are implemented. Both teacher and the students meet in a venue like the classroom for personalized teaching. Attendance of teachers as well as the students is taken for formal record and completing the courses. Formal evaluation system, both internal and external, is implemented to assess the performance of the learners. Both continuous and term and examination are used for evaluating the performance of the students. Proper certification is done by the board or university for awarding the degrees or diplomas to the students. On the basis of the result, the students are promoted to higher classes or pursue higher degrees. Non-formal education. The characteristics of non-formal education are as non-formal education endowed with flexible curricula, time schedule, choice of subjects, and the place of education. It is not necessarily require daily teacher-student interaction like formal education. Education imparted in distance mode like the open and distance learning system offered by the open school and open universities. Even the distance education departments of the regular institutes also offer non-formal courses or education. Like the formal education, non-formal education has a curriculum and uses variety of methods of teaching and mode of communication. The gravity and quality of instruction, both for formal and non-formal education, are the same. The timing of regular classes in non-formal education is usually conducted on weekends, Saturday or Sunday, or during the vacations. Multimedia communication system like print, self-learning materials, and non-print audio or video materials, radio, television, teleconferencing, interactive radio counseling, online learning, etc. are popularly used as medium of instruction in non-formal education. In India, institutes like Indira Gandhi National Open Institute, National Open Schooling, and the state level open education institutes provide non-formal education, like formal education, degree awarded, and certification are also done in non-formal education. Informal education is also called natural or incidental education. No formal or non-formal institutes is required to provide informal education. For informal education, there is no need of any curriculum, methods of teaching, teachers or mentors, and place of teaching. Education and experiences acquired during travel, interaction with people, family discourses, community and social dealings, interaction within the environment, neighborhoods, playmates, cultural and religious activities are necessarily informal education. Informal education supports formal as well as the non-formal education. Informal education does not provide degrees or diplomas, it simply enriches by filling the gaps of formal and non-formal education. Informal education may comprise the activities like storytelling, group discussion, reading books on your interest, listening to radio broadcasting, or watching educational television programs, visits to museums, educational fairs, and scientific exhibitions, attending lectures and conferences, etc. By discussing the characteristics of different forms of education, it can be said that it is not possible to get all sorts of education by utilizing only one form of education. Rather, all the three forms of education are required for the individual to develop their personality. The present constructivist concept of education, which is basically acquired through informal or incidental education, contributes to the formal system of education for constructing knowledge and developing understanding. It is like a basket of knowledge where all forms of education equally contribute to the fullest. Aims of education. Educational aims are correlative to the ideals of life. Educational aims in any country have varied with its political, social and economic conditions. The educational system of Greece and Rome raised an issue that is still very important in education today. Should education train good individuals or good citizens? Are the social needs in education more important than the needs of the individual? An individual is born with certain potentialities and natural endowments. It is the task of the educator to develop into a distinct individual, but personality development does not take place in a vacuum. Thus, we have to decide whether the individual or the society should occupy the first place in education. Educators who emphasize individual aim of education to enable men to realize, to mature, to discipline the human mind and spirit. This most influential of all the varieties of energy has always been the task of education. Why stress on individual aim? The biologists support to individual aim of education. According to Professor G. Thompson, education is for the individual, its function being to enable the individual to survive and live out its complete life. Education is imparted to preserve the individual life. Education is given for the sake of the individual to save him from destruction. Community exists for the individual, not the individual for the community. Community being the means and individual being the end. Education should not set means over the end. Individual and not society, therefore, should be the center of all educational efforts and activities. The naturalists support to the individual aim of education. The naturalists like Nunn and Rousseau are of the view that the central aim of education is the autonomous development of the individual. According to Rousseau, everything is good as it comes from the hands of author of nature, but everything degenerates in the hands of man. God makes all things good. Man meddles with them and they become evil. It is therefore the education should be in accordance with the nature of the individual. The psychologists support to individual aim of education. The psychologists regard each individual as unique one. According to them, no two children are identical. The function of education should be to develop the innate powers of the individual so that his maximum development may take place. The spiritualists support to education. The spiritualists are of the view that every individual is separate entity and responsible for his own actions. Therefore, the main function of education should be to lead the individual to self-realization. Swami Vivekananda states, man is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this potentiality from within by controlling nature, external and internal, through education. The progressivists were to the individual aim of education. The progressivists hold the view that the progress and advancement of the world is due to great individuals born in different periods of history. It is therefore stated by them that education process should secure condition for the complete development of individuality so that each individual may make his original contribution to the human life. Criticism of the individual aim of education. According to Raymond, an individual is only a figment of imagination. An individual cannot be conceived in isolation from society. The critics of individual aim believe that the individual left to himself is an animal, selfish and indisciplined. The animal instinct of man, if given a loose reason, is sure to lead him to the states of primitive barbarism where the law of jungle prevailed. Absolute freedom to the individual should not be given. The individual may begin to assert that I must have what I want. The exaggerated claim of the individual may have an adverse effect in the political and economy of a country. The policy of laissez-faire is not conducive to national interest in the modern times. Social aim of education. The individual is regarded as endowed with a social nature. He is social by instinct. An individual seems every way and always to be caught up in an intricate web of social relations. Without them, the newborn baby would almost perish. The social process and the educational process are essentially one and the same. Curriculum is the social stuff out of which the individual realizes itself. Narrow interpretation of social aim of education. The protagonist of his view that state is an idealized metaphysical entity over and above the self, above the individual citizen, superior in every way, hence the individual exists for the society. It is therefore the state that should decide the aim, mode and type of education or training which an individual should receive for its welfare. The Spartan system of education in an ancient times and the Nazi system of the recent past reflects this tendency. Thank you, dear friends. Next topic we will discuss later on. Thank you.